Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome. It's a special Wednesday edition of Above the Cushion. I have some family obligations I have to take care of tomorrow, so our normal Thursday night got moved to Wednesday, and we're going to kick that off with a little winged Wednesday action as we're headed into a doubleheader weekend at Humboldt Speedway and 81 Speedway with the Oil Capital Racing Series. We'll have a little special night Saturday here at 81 Speedway for the 8th annual Mike Peters uh, tribute or memorial race here at the Speedway. Very honored to have that one with us, and we're looking forward to seeing you all on Saturday night. Want to give a shout out to Joel Hill. He reached out to him last week and asked him for an invocation for Humboldt Speedway. He came through, and again, I need to thank Joel Hill for helping me out with that. Trying to do the prayer over every night over at Humboldt Speedway. Just needed a little fresh perspective on it. And again, got to thank Joel Hill. Also want to shout out Jeremy Richmond, Joey Richmond, and Austin Ramey for making the drive over on Friday night to be with us for Home Savings Bank Factory Stock and Stock Car action. So looking forward to growing that as getting more of the 81 Speedway stock cars as well as any of the IMCA cars. Those will fit into the rules that we have. We'd love to have you guys stacked up over there, guys and gals stacked up for the stock cars with us on factory stock races. So special guest on the phone line with us, Shane Carson, a friend of the Speedway, and of course Knoxville Hall of Fame sprint car driver. Been doing it a long time, sir. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great, Andy. Thank you for calling.
Yeah, sir. I want to thank you for taking some time out. I know it was a little short notice to get on the show, so we appreciate you being here with us.
You bet.
Um,
Looking forward to that this weekend, all of it.
yeah, want to talk about that, especially kind of going forward. I know you and Mike raced together, quite a bit back in the day, and kind of want to just. I know you got a short time with us here tonight, but I do appreciate all the time you're giving us. But kind of want to talk about Saturday night as we're headed in to that race night. We haven't seen the Oil Capital cars with us for a couple seasons, and we're excited to have them back, and we're even more excited to be part of the 8th annual Mike Peters Memorial.
Heck yeah, it's going to be great, and we've had a good pre-race hype on it. We've been doing quite a bit with it on our end, just to make sure we got all the bases covered. But going to Humboldt the day before, and then coming back to Wichita for the 81 Speedway race is going to be really really special. Ojar Peters, which is Mike's son, has got a car that's very competitive. He's got Jeremy Campbell driving it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first time that he's been able to run the race, the Mike Peters Classic, because he's always been down there being involved in the race itself. But he didn't want to race his car because, we were down at Red Dirt Raceway in Meeker, Oklahoma, and he wanted to really focus on everything that was going on at the race. Well, now that race is right here in his hometown. So
Right.
he's got his family coming out. He's got friends that's not got to see this race, and it's going to be really special. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we're super excited here at the Speedway. Was talking to John Allen last night while he was driving home, and it sounds like we got a whole host of legends that are going to be with us here Saturday night. But again, as you and I were talking earlier, texting back and forth, you said you had never been over to Humboldt on and raced, and was kind of wondering if maybe you were going to make the drive over to watch some action over there on Friday night.
I'm looking forward to it if I can make it happen. But I'm just going to be up and back on Saturday for sure.
In all the years that you raced, I know you retired in the early 2000s there, but
Hmm.
between like we get to see a couple different races every. We're very lucky here for Humboldt Speedway and 81 Speedway. We get to see two completely different racetracks: quarter mile on Friday night, 3/8 mile
Hmm.
on Saturday night. When you were running around the country, what was your preferred track size?
Most of my races that I won and did the best on were half miles. Oklahoma City was a half mile. Eldora and Knoxville are both big half mile tracks. High Bank at Eldora, and then a fairgrounds track at Knoxville. And those I just got so used to running because I grew up being in Oklahoma City, watching them every week.
That half mile, just big speed, carry that momentum. That was just your driving style.
It was definitely one when you did it wrong, it hurt. But when it was good, it was a lot of fun. And I was lucky enough to win a lot of races on the track at Oklahoma City. I won the championship at Knoxville. So, when I was able to, grow up and then run in Tulsa, we run that big track. It was a 5/8 track.
Mm-hmm.
And really that's when Mike and I got together for the most part. That was in probably 1974. We started running the big track. Mike was coming down from Wichita with his owner, Norman Gum. They brought two other cars, Davey Moore and Gene C., and all three cars on one long trailer. And, he'd pull in there, and then we'd all show up from Oklahoma City or wherever. And, Mike was like my biggest nightmare. You'd see him roll in. I thought, oh, my gosh, we got to run against those guys again. But, that makes you a better racer when you've got to run with guys that are good like that and fast. They got good equipment. And, he kind of raises the bar on your career.
What was it about Mike's driving, or as a person? What was it that was intimidating? Because I've heard that quite a few times over. I've been around the track a long time, and
Yeah.
actually worked for Larry McDaniels for a little bit.
Oh, did you?
And
Yeah.
and Mike Peters would come in every once in a while. He wasn't a
Yeah.
regular or anything, but what was it about him that when when you mentioned that when you see him rolling to the pits, you're going, oh my goodness, we're gonna.
Mike was an intimidating, driver. If you've ever watched him, on track, he didn't make very many mistakes, and he was always right on with his setup. We've got one of the guys that's coming up for this is his owner. They had the Trop Arctic car, and his name was, man, I forgot his name for a second, but he's coming up too, and he was the guy that Mike drove for, and always wanted that car set up the way he wanted it. So, he always had his way of going about it. And every time we ran, that car was fast. And that was the Trop Arctic 66 car that was owned by Court Grandstaff.
Yep.
And he'll be in that group tomorrow too, or on Saturday. So you guys will get to hear some from him also.
Yeah, like I said, John Allen and I were talking last night. I'm almost lucky enough to speak to John Allen almost every single night, and
Yeah. Okay.
he's a wealth of knowledge, and of course, I get to
Oh,
work
he
with him on
is.
Friday and Saturdays. But we're always working on stuff, to make the races more exciting for the fans, and that's something I set out to do with Above the Cushion here, and
Hmm.
it's get racing stories and go back to the old times, because if we don't get the stories why the legends are here,
Yeah.
then it's going to be lost. So that's one thing we do
You're right.
with the page.
You're exactly right. We always say at the Hall of Fame in Knoxville, we promote the future by preserving the past.
Right.
So if you think back about the races back in the day, we want to be able to carry that legacy on and let people know what it was like. And that helps you promote the races that are coming up, and I think a lot of people can understand that.
Absolutely. Um, I want to talk about when you made the decision to retire. We get some people that retire and they
Mhm.
just can't be around it. It's just too ingrained. So once they're
Yeah.
done racing, they got. I mean, they can't even watch a bicycle race with
Yeah.
kids in the neighborhood, right? They gotta just get away from it. But you have stayed very connected, in tune, and close to it. And does it not ever something inside you just want to reach out and get back in a car, after when you
Well, I
first
do.
quit,
It was a little harder then. That was 25 years ago. It was a little harder to go to the races. Well, now, I'm 70 years old, so I know better. But it probably still doesn't make me not want to do it, because I do. But I'm smart enough, I guess, to understand that it's right now. There's some good younger drivers coming up, and they're exciting to watch. They've got a good head on their shoulders, and they're putting on good races. So I'm okay with just trying to help them promote that.
you're very in tune with sprint car racing, even still to this day. And here at the racetrack, and unfortunately we've had two canceled races with high limits, so we've yet to see those here at the track. But we've had some successful races with World of Outlaws.
Right.
What's your thoughts on the big money that High Limits puts out for their midweek, the Roto Rooter midweek money shows?
Well, there's a lot of money coming around these days, and this weekend we've got There actually tomorrow night there's a race in Sioux Falls, South Dakota that's paying 100,000 to win. And if that's not big enough, on Saturday night they're paying 250,000 to win, and both of those are World Outlaw shows. So what's going on is one group's bumping the money up, well the other group goes along with it. So, really I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, sprint car racing is pretty expensive, so it's nice to be able to race for some big money like that.
You've had a lot of wins and a lot of success in your day. I'm sure your wife's going, well, you should be racing these days with this big money.
Yeah, yeah, that comes up a time or two. I think I was born way too early. Yeah.
um, you started your racing career like quite a few other people I've had on the
Mhm.
show, and it's on two wheels
Yes,
because of age restriction for racing. Of course,
correct. That's right.
now
Yep.
is now we run into the situation, or we don't here at 81 Speedway, but our friends over at Little 81 Speedway Kart Park with
Hmm.
altered birth certificate. So at 5 years old, you can get
Yeah.
go kart racing. It's just a way different scenario, but your dad, of course, a Hall of Fame member as well. But before him, who got the racing bug started with your family?
Well, my dad was a promoter from the 50s, so I was born into it. And I grew up going to the tracks every day and going to being part of it. I was selling programs at 8 years old. I was running the scoreboard at 16. And then when I finally turned 18, that was my chance to go racing. Well, by then, I had already been racing motocross for a couple of years, so I was kind of up to speed on what I needed to do and how to race, really. And what made me mad is because my dad had that rule: you had to be 18. And all my buddies that I ran around with, they weren't 18, but they got to race. And I told my dad, I said, "How come that's fair?" I go, Mike's not 18." And they said, "Well, his dad says he is, so I guess he's going to run." I said, "Well, then you need to say I am." He goes, "Not going to happen." So he was very strict on me.
What was the first car you ever got into?
Well, my brother was racing before me. He was 7 years older than I, and he had a modified. He came back from Vietnam, and he was a kind of a car guy all of his life. Anyway, he was like me. He grew up in the business, and he was going to race one way or the other. So when I come up, when I got to be 18, he was mid 20s, and he was able to, you know, get some better cars by then, and that car was passed down to me. And of course, my dad owned it, but I got it, and I got to start running it. On a Friday night, we had probably 100 cars running every week on that division. So I was thrown into a really tough bunch of racers at that time at the Fairgrounds Speedway in Oklahoma City, and you had to run like enough races to get enough points to get in a heat race. So it was like 2 or 3 weeks before I could even run a heat race.
Oh.
And yeah, so the rules were pretty strict, but it taught me how to get around and how to stay out of trouble. And I was able to run with a limited budget, and I was able to go racing. So that's what happened.
Always curious about people's number. Where does people's I know you've raced a couple different numbers
Mm-hmm.
over your time, but like in the modified, how did you come up with the number that you ran?
Well, early on, I just ran the car that was my brother's car, so it was a black number 11. So that was my first car, and then he got another car, and then his car that he got, the one that he got when I got the first car, he got me where I could drive it, and that was number 10. So I was running that for a while, and then as soon as I repainted it and got it the way I wanted it, I put number 12 on it, and that's the number I tried to stay with through my career, because I had a favorite driver in Oklahoma City named Everett Humphrey, and I was always followed his driving style and the way he acted around the track. I tried to use that, and I tried to be like him.
Yeah. um the kind of the evolution of all sorts of racing, but where you're more tied in on the sprint car side. Back in your early start, as you mentioned, you and your brother, car people. Now we have some drivers that they're really not mechanically inclined. They don't turn wrenches. They're not
Yeah,
really into any sort of like a street rod or
yeah,
cool cars on the street. They're pulling up in a Toyota Corolla or something to the racetrack, you know. But back in
yeah.
your guys' day, when you first started, when you guys got running, you had to be able to work on it because
Oh yeah.
a lot of volunteer help.
Right, right. We'd wear them volunteers out too. We'd go through a lot of them in a year because we kept trying to run more races, and we kind of wore those guys out for real. But I don't know how a kid grows up and he's really good in sprint cars right away without any other background. But it happens because just like you say, I mean, I know some of those sprint car drivers right now that have never done any other kind of racing, and they just came up on the scene and they've got good stuff and they're running good.
Yeah,
And I
you have it seems in sprint car racing more than any other division. You have you have like Kyle Larson. He's
yeah
racing everything: tricycles, IndyCar. I mean,
yeah
it doesn't matter.
yeah
He's getting on one thing, and then you have some that just stay with their craft. They just want to
yeah
run the wing sprint car. They really have no
yeah
interest in a midget or a non-wing type of car. They're it's kind of
right.
across the board with this younger generation.
It's funny you say that because I mean I've known Steve Kinzer all my life, but all he really wanted to do was race sprint cars, and he was good at it, and he won a lot. But he had an opportunity to go to Indy, and he did. He actually ran the Indy 500, and I'm sure he could have done other things, but that was what he wanted to do, was run sprint cars.
I,
And then you mentioned Larson, and Larson, he runs everything, but I guarantee I don't think he can work on any of them.
yeah,
But I guarantee he can go out there and race any of them, and we've seen that.
yeah. I think they're of course he's a big name, and you see a lot of interviews run across social media with him. And
Mm-hmm.
when he does talk about cars, he's not. I don't. Yeah, he's not going. Well, I got a 1966 Ford Mustang or a
Yeah,
GT.
yeah,
He just doesn't name off that kind of stuff. But
right.
someone like Larson, just kind of a rare talent, and
He is
like I
that.
said, just
Yeah,
get behind the wheel and just absolutely rip it.
he does. I've been watching him since he came out of cage carts in California, and he was growing up really quick, and he was getting in some pretty good, pretty high end cars before he got in the sprint cars. And then I don't know where we were. I think we were at Chico one time, and I was working with the World Outlaws at that time, so I'm there, and this kid's in the field, and they're all going like, "Who is that guy?" I said, "Well, it's Kyle Larson. You guys better watch that kid. He's going to be good." And he shot the gap in between a couple of them, and they come over to me and said, "Where'd that guy come from?" I said, "Well, he came from right around here. He's a California guy."
Yeah,
Rico's the same way. Rico come
right.
up in almost the same background as Kyle, running those cage carts, getting into the midgets and then the sprint cars, and he is really good. That guy, the more I watch him, the more it just amazes me.
Yeah, speaking of Rico, coincidentally, the last two we've had of course, a couple little canceled World of Outlaws sprint car
Uh huh.
races here at the Speedway, but the last two that did complete, Rico's picked up both of them. So
That's what I thought.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I was there.
he's got 81's number pretty good. We're looking forward to
Yeah,
seeing him. We were really looking forward to him to seeing him for the midweek show for High Limit.
yeah,
He was
yeah.
in town and scheduled to be here, so we were wondering if he could put it up for three in a row. So we'll have to get us another one scheduled. Jr. and I kind of cry together because we don't get to. We're really looking forward to the High Limit show.
Yeah,
It's just
I know
a
what you mean.
heartbreak.
Yep, yep. I
Um,
do know what you mean.
kind of looking forward to Saturday night. Um, you know, what are we? Like I said, we've not seen the Oil Capital Series here at the Speedway for just a couple years. So what are we? What are you guys thinking for car counts looking coming into the weekend?
We have had that race. This is the eighth annual, so we've had 7 years of running that Mike Peters race, but we've always done them at Red Dirt Raceway in Oklahoma. So, a lot of those cars are from that area, but I also feel like that they follow that series. So that series is going to go to Humboldt Friday. They're going to go to 81 on Sunday. And I think it's a perfect opportunity for those guys to come and run at a new track. And one of them's a quarter mile like Red Dirt, and the other one's a bigger track. And those guys are good. They're very adaptive to any track they run on.
Like you mentioned, that Humboldt's very similar to Red Dirt. A little bit more
Mm-hmm.
banking
Yep.
at Humboldt, but that we've not seen some sprint cars over there in a few years. So I know the fans are ready to go and see some wing cars around there. And I unfortunately wasn't at the last wing show that we had at Humboldt, so I'm looking forward to that one as well. And then like you had mentioned, coming to 81 on Saturday, it's a little bit different track and maybe a first time for some of them, maybe a repeat show for some of them as well. So it's gonna be a great weekend. We're really looking forward, again, like I said, to having the Mike Peters Memorial here at the Speedway, and hopefully we can keep it here for a couple years and honor a local legend, and it's
Yeah.
gonna be a great night.
Well, he certainly is that. He came out of Wichita, and he was a top runner in all of our series that we had around Oklahoma and Texas, Kansas, you name it. He ran Knoxville a lot. He ran, all the big shows around the country. And it was cool to have him, coming up into that in those divisions that he ran, and was really a good racer and a good guy. That's probably what I remember about him more than anything. Was really how he was off track.
Before we let you go, you got a Mike Peters story for us headed into the weekend?
Well, a couple of them, but I'll tell you one. He, I was racing at Tulsa, and he always liked my car, the 112 car I was running, and he asked me if he could drive it sometime, and I'd never let anybody drive my car, and I thought, well, I go, what do you mean? He goes, I'd like to go out and hot lap it. So I let him go out and hot lap it, and he did pretty good and told me a few things what he thought about it, and it might have even helped me get a little faster, which made it put the heat on him, because I was running against him, but he didn't seem to back off on what he told me. And then the next time we had a sprint car race, I had another ride out of Texas, and I had a car of my own. It was a sprint car that I used to run the NCRAs. And I was there. My car was there, and then my car from Texas came up. So I ended up driving it because I was leading the points with NCRA at that time. And I told Mike, I said, well, if you got your stuff, why don't you just drive my car? So he raced my car again. This was in 80, I don't know what year it was. It's probably 87 or 8 maybe. So he went out and ran it, didn't run into nothing, and did pretty good with it and liked it. So I had a deal going with Gambler Chassis Company. They were a manufacturer of sprint cars, and they built a 100-inch car. That was when we were all running 100-inch cars in the 80s. And they built me this house car, and they gave me the car. It was yellow, really a cool car, and we won a lot of races with it. But I was also running sprint cars a lot. So I was off running a sprint car at Eldora or somewhere, and I called home, and I'm talking to my guy that was my crew chief, which I'm still friends with, believe it or not. But he said, yeah, we just got back from Tulsa. I said, what are you doing up there? He goes, well, we took the Gambler car up there, and Mike drove it and won. I said, what? he said, yeah, we wasn't going to tell you, but we figured you'd hear about it anyway. Gosh, but anyway, yeah, we've had some run-ins, but all good.
All good. Yeah, every once in a while we get to see some 100-inch cars when we have the Kansas Antique Racers Association.
Right.
Yeah, always good to see it. And I remember when I was a little kid, I was with my dad in the mornings. If it was early enough, if I got out of bed early enough and got dressed for school, we'd run by the Nance Speed Shop over on 21st in Arkansas and take a look around and see what was going on. Every once in a while, you catch Sammy or another another racer hanging out in the morning on the way to do something. So that's always
in 1977, Laverne Nance came down to Tulsa and was watching, and I was running that 6-cylinder. And he came up to me one time and he said, is there any way you would consider hot lapping my sprint car? And I'm thinking, well, I'm sure I would. Where do you want to do it? And he goes, well, we'll do it at Dewey. It was a quarter mile, kind of like Humboldt. So he brought it down there. It was on a Friday night, and it was after the races. They let me hot lap it. And I came in, and Nan said, man, that was good. He goes, you want to do it tomorrow night? I said, well, I got to run Tulsa tomorrow night on that big track. He goes, yeah, we'll just bring the sprint car. I'm thinking, I don't know if that's a very good idea, but but I did it anyway. And I go out there and hot lap it and come in, and Nan said, man, that was great. I said, who was that on the outside of me? I go, there was somebody right beside me. I could hear him. He said, oh, no. He goes, that was the headers with the sound bouncing off the wall. Because, my 6-cylinder, he has pipes on one side, and they never did that. So I had never dealt with that. So Nance kind of said, "Well, rookie," he goes, "That's what those headers will do to you." I was like, okay. So we went off. We went off to race in a couple of weeks. We went to Denver, and that was my first sprint car race for Laverne Nance.
That's awesome. Before we let you go, any I know there's some memorabilia laying around the country and some museums, but anything at the house that your wife lets you keep?
I've had a car that I drove for Nance, believe it or not now, 1977. Nance built a car out of aluminum, all aluminum
Mm-hmm.
tubing. And I was going to run it. We took it to Knoxville in 1977 and they outlawed the car. So we ended up taking it back to Nance's shop and stripped it down and built a steel frame, went back to Knoxville and we was okay. But that aluminum chassis just stood there in Nance's shop for 20 years. And about in the mid 90s, Nance had an auction, and he auctioned off all these parts, and he really closed the company down
Mm-hmm.
because Laverne had a stroke, and the family decided they weren't going to fight it; they're going to liquidate. So I heard about it. I went up there and I got that chassis. I took it back to my house. That was in the 90s, and I've been working on it ever since. Well, this year in January, I had it all done, and I took it to the Chili Bowl. And right now it's in the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame Museum.
Nice.
So no, I don't have anything at my house anymore because I took it up there. But I worked on that thing for over 20 years. Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah, that car comes up quite a bit if you I had some free time at work, so I was Googling and
Yeah.
I know a little bit about you, but sprint cars weren't really my thing, so I didn't keep
Yeah.
up with some of the drivers. But that car comes up a lot if you if you Google Shane Carson, that one's high on the list. So, and then
What's funny
I
is
did see some
most of the,
pictures of it. That's a
did you? Yeah,
mm-hmm,
because it's in the museum now. Yeah.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
When people come up and talk to me at the Chili Bowl, the number one question, and I even had other people around me saying, well, yeah, really, why did you do that? They'd come up and say, well, why did you drive that car? I said, well, I was pretty young. I was coming out of my 6-cylinder modified, and I'd have probably driven anything, which is really what was going to happen. I was going to drive that car.
Yeah.
And when they came over and outlawed it, we all got mad. Me and Nance were mad about it, but then looking back, that was definitely a life saving move
Yeah.
by them
Yeah.
because I was probably going to wreck that night because I was going to be running it hard enough to crash.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Checkers or records, the famous
pretty much.
famous last
Pretty
words.
much. Yep.
Well, I don't want to keep you anymore. I really appreciate you coming on, and I know you had a busy day today, and then I saw you're on with C Ray and Hardy
Right.
tomorrow. So,
Yes.
um, hopefully you can make it up Friday. Love to see you at Humboldt, since you've never been there. Once you experience the bull ring over there, and then really looking forward to seeing you on Saturday here with everyone as we celebrate Mike Peters here at the Speedway. So again, thank you for your time tonight. Really appreciate having you. Hopefully we can meet up Saturday, and maybe we can do a little pit stop interview that I do for
That'll
our
work.
YouTube page. So
Heck yeah, let's do it.
awesome. Well, thank you
I'm
again
looking
very
forward to it.
much, and hopefully, like I said, you can make the trip up Friday to Humboldt with us. But we'll definitely see you here at 81 on Saturday.
I appreciate it, Andy, and you tell Johnny I appreciate it also.
Yes, sir. We'll see you later.
Okay.
Thank you
Bye
much.
bye.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, good conversation there with Shane Carson. With Jeremy Heim and I have talked to him before on the phone line, but it's been a little bit, and it's good to have him back on. And of course, with Jeremy, we weren't doing the YouTube at that time. We weren't doing the YouTube stuff, so we'll get this one posted up on the YouTube page so we can have that forever and ever. Looking forward to Friday night over at Humboldt Speedway. Now, this will be streamed live on S2F, which is start to finish. StartToFinishTV.com. So subscription is needed to view it, but the event will be streamed live for the Oil Capital Racing Series Sprint Cars and weekly championship points at Humboldt on Friday night. Event classes, of course, going to be the Oil Capital Racing Series, your Rays Metal Depot USRAB mods, your Extrusion Zinc Midwest mods, your Home Savings Bank factory stocks, and your Wilson Automotive mini stock and tuners. I know a couple cars from the Home Savings Bank factory stock are going to go down to Texarkana and race for $10,000 to win, and we wish those teams the best of luck. Want to go back to last Friday night with the big on the go tire and auto $1,000 to win Midwest Mod Show. It ended up being $1,200 to win. Need to thank James Furman Videos for adding to the winners total. Jacob Ellison picks up the win. What a great race that was. It was it was awesome to watch. It was down to the line. It was a photo finish. I actually called it wrong. I had to get corrected by the transponding loop, but Jacob Ellison picks up the big win. I do want to apologize on the live feed as we had to wait a little bit as cars went through tech, and being live kind of eats the battery on my phone. So I see Jacob Friday night. I'm going to get down and get another interview with him a little bit longer. Again, I was running out of battery. I had 2% left when he finally rolled into Pete's Convenience Store Victory Lane. So we just had to do a short little interview, but we will get a longer interview with Jacob Ellison for winning the Extrusion Zinc Midwest Mod. $1,200 to win, presented by On The Go Tire and Auto out of Chanute. It was also kids night. It was absolutely fantastic night. There's plenty of pictures posted. Jeff Milam, Race Rush 66, is the official photographer on Friday nights over there at Humboldt Speedway. So he has been posting all that. If you need to get copies of it, please reach out to Jeff Milam, Race Rush 66 on Facebook. Of course, we'll give him a couple tags on the Facebook page so you can easily find his page. And you need to get a proof, or he can get some printout stuff for you. He can take care of everything you need. Please reach out to him and get that taken care of. Event info for Friday night. Of course, pit's going to open at 5 o'clock, grandstand at 6. Hot lap's going to start at 7:30 and racing at 8 o'clock on the dot. Pit pass is going to be $35 for adults, kids 5 to 10 or $15. Kids 4 and under absolutely free into the pit area. General admission grandstand tickets going to be $18 for adults, $15 for seniors 65 and the military, and of course kids 10 and under absolutely free into the grandstand at Humboldt Speedway. No outside food or drink. Clear bag policy is in effect. So it's going to be a great night. If you're a sprint car fan, we hope you can make it out Friday night. If you can't, start to finish, s2ftv.com will be live streaming the event on Friday at Humboldt. Moving on to Saturday, Oil Capital Racing Series with the 8th annual Mike Peters Classic going to be here at the Speedway, along with weekly championship points action. That will also be live streamed on s2ftv.com. Not sure about the race and dirt. I'll have to get some clarification on that from the bosses, but for sure on starttofinishtv.com for the OCRS 8th annual Mike Peters Classic. Of course, we're going to have the 360 sprint cars with us for Oil Capital Racing Series. We're also going to have Poorman Auto Supply USRAB mods, your JLR Property Management 316A mods. Make a return after a couple weeks off. You have TM Fencing LLC Super Stocks, your Wickham Heating and Air Conditioning Mini Stock and Tuners, and your Allied Battery Stock Cars, all in competition as well. So really looking forward to that mini stock and tuner, as 30 cars were checked in 2 weeks ago here at the Speedway. So we'll have to see if that field keeps growing. We maintain that 30 car mark, but it was a great showing by the mini stock and tuners. Of course, Allied Battery Stock Cars. John Allen took the night off from being general manager and got some testing done in that stock car and picked up the win. Good to see him out with the field. I talked to a couple competitors, and they're wanting to step their game up for the stock cars. So be looking out for someone to go on a tear. Also want to invite all of our Allied Battery stock cars to come over on Friday night and race with us at Humboldt Speedway. You don't have to change anything about your car as you race it at 81 Speedway. You can race it at Humboldt. That's a change we made. We want to grow the class over there for Humboldt for Home Savings Bank factory stocks. Again, Jeremy Richmond, Joey Richmond, Austin Ramey, thank you three guys and your teams for showing up last Friday night with us over there. Appreciate you being there. Austin Ramey, led some of the feature and was contending for a win. It was a great night, and we would love to see more of the stock cars make their way over there. So I want to encourage everyone to get over there and be part of the Home Savings Bank factory stock and stock car division. Again, thank everyone for tuning in with us here on Wednesday night. I know I've been doing them on Wednesday nights instead of our normal Thursday, but next week we're back to a Thursday night show. Just have some family obligations to get taken care of. Also want to give a shout out to anyone dealing with the storms from last night. Personally, I had quite a few trees down on my property. We were out of power from about 8:30 last night to about 3:30 today. So they got the power back going. If you need anything done at your home, please reach out to any of the sponsors here at 81 Speedway, Humboldt Speedway. All the areas are getting affected by weather here in the time, and if you need something taken care of, please reach out to a sponsor here at the Speedway as we take care of our own. So our sponsors and partners are taking care of the racing and the racers here at the Speedway. If you need something done at your home, we want to get you over to them so you can get something taken care of. We have quite a few landscaping and tree services that can get you taken care of. Of course, if your fence got knocked down, TM Fencing LLC, who's a proud partner here on Above the Cushion. If you got your fence knocked over, like my neighbors did, TM Fencing LLC is the place to call. My uncle also got a tree limb down on some fence, and I believe we're going to get TM Fencing over there to get that taken care of. So again, we need to thank TM Fencing, Tane Murphy, and the whole entire crew over there. I know they're going to be busy getting everyone's fence repaired after the wind and the tree limbs and everything going on. Logan's Landscaping and Tree Service. If you need something done, contact them. Kansas Tree Experts. If you need something done, contact them. Had a couple friends lose some windshields and some rear windshields on their cars for some tree limbs. Of course, the Glass Man is the place to be. If you're needing to get some hail repair, maybe a tree limb fell on your car, you need to get it. American Collision is the place to be. So we need to thank all the new partners here at the Speedway. That is going to do it for me here tonight. Again, if you need something taken care of at your home, something happened to your car, we're going to start putting some of the sponsors out on the Speedway page, on the Facebook page, so you can get in contact with those companies, so you can get your car fixed, you can get your home fixed, anything you need done. We're gonna start doing some of that and shouting out some of our partners here, so we can get your home fixed back up, so we can get back to racing. Speedway, everything's looking pretty good. We did have a couple banners come down off the fence. It happens. Those big 25 and 50-foot banners, the wind just a little too much for them. So everything looking good here at the Speedway. Didn't get a look too much at the track, but a little bit of water standing in some places here at the Speedway. So we're looking good. We're looking good for the weekend as the sun is out. Everything's starting to dry up. So just want to wish everyone, well wishes. Hopefully, if you're having to deal with something at your home, you get that taken care of quickly, and thankfully there wasn't any true significant damage, and no one perished in the storms last night. So just want to wish everyone the best, and hopefully you're getting everything cleaned up and ready to go, so we can go racing here on Friday and Saturday night. Again, that is going to do it for me here. We had a great conversation with Shane Carson. We'll get this posted on the YouTube page as well. Want to encourage you to go over to the YouTube page at Above the Cushion. Link is in the description for this video. Get over there and check out some of those pit stop interviews and learn about your favorite drivers. It's 15 questions. Some of them have to do with racing. Some of them have to do with just general life and some fun things. Learn about your favorite drivers as we keep posting them. Every Monday, those get posted. The pit stop interviews get posted up to the YouTube page, and then every Friday, excuse me, of course, the Above the Cushion lives will get posted on the YouTube page as well. While you're on YouTube, we encourage you to go over to @SlotKingChris, see what he's got going on and support that channel, as Chris Kratzer and the whole team at Wichita Tire and Alignment putting up the big money this year for Alternative Pest Management USRA Modifieds, $5,000 points championship on the line. So get over to YouTube, support @SlotKingChris, support us here on Above the Cushion. Also, again, if you need something done at your home after the storms last night, we encourage you to call someone here that partners with us at the Speedway and support those who support racing. If you need some recommendations, reach out to me. I'll help you get in some contact with whoever you need to talk to. But again, that is going to do it for us here for a special Winged Wednesday edition of Above the Cushion. Hope everyone is doing okay, and hope nothing significant happened to your home or your cars. If it did, we have resources to reach out to get those taken care of. Also, we had a winner for, I have to look up the name, and I do apologize, over at Humboldt, as we did a little fun thing to kind of guess who was going to win the Extrusions Inc. Midwest Mod feature. I said 2 tickets to the grandstand. They are right here. I'm going to put them in an envelope, and they will be at the cashier stand, or at the ticket stand, excuse me, Friday night. So 2 tickets, as promised, right here for the person that did guess Jacob Ellison would win the A feature for Extrusions Inc. Midwest Mods. Again, that's going to do it for me. I promise I'm out on this one. Want to thank you for spending your Wednesday night with us. We're looking forward to next Thursday night back here on Above the Cushion. And of course, if you are a sprint car fan, Friday night at Humboldt, Saturday right here at 81 Speedway is going to be the place. Good night. God bless. We'll see you next Thursday.